Thank you so much, Jean-Pierre. Thank you, Venkat. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for welcoming me here today. It's my pleasure to present at the Innovation and Strategy Club this morning. As Jean-Pierre, you have mentioned, I'm CEO of Airbus UpNext, which is a key part of our company's wide global innovation ecosystem. Innovation is really the leading reason why Airbus remains at the forefront of the aerospace industry. So I wanted to speak about why that is the case, how innovation is a business necessity, a protection against the disruption that at one point or another every company faces. But before I jump into it, though, I want to take a few minutes to set the scene for you of the current state of aerospace industry. I realize all of you attending today come from various industries. And while many of our challenges and opportunities look somewhat similar, aerospace has some extremely unique constraints that are important to understand. I believe aerospace plays an incredibly important role for society and our world at large. I believe that travel enabled by aircraft and even spacecraft now is a driver for peace, empathy, and understanding of others. No matter what we as an industry face, I believe that air travel will continue to grow and change in the decades to come. Obviously, the pandemic is a factor in our current reality that few, if any, truly saw coming. It would be remiss not to acknowledge that COVID hit the aerospace industry very hard. In light of this, we at Airbus worked hard to better serve our customers, align with our suppliers, and contribute positively to the world. As you all likely know, aerospace is one industry that is extensively regulated and highly predicated on safety. These two traits force a healthy tension inside our organization. We both must think very critically long-term out, say 8 to 10 years for a given product, and very broadly short-term. This tension was truly illustrated during the pandemic when we clearly restated our raison d'être and how we'll truly meet the moment. We want to pioneer sustainable aviation for a safe and united world. A great example of this is our corporate work in sustainability. We are considering zero-E aircraft solutions that would deliver to market a truly zero-emissions aircraft in the mid-2030s. And yet, we are also conceiving, testing, developing, and industrializing technologies in 2 to 4 years' time that contribute to fuel burn improvements of 3 to 5% each. You must have in mind that 5% of fuel burn reduction is really a very significant number in our industry. That's the order of magnitude of the A320 Sharklets, which we launched a decade ago. So we are tackling the challenge of decarbonizing aviation from an all-encompassive, long-term, brand new perspective, as well as an arguably incrementally short-term perspective. And one is not better than the other or more necessary. Both are essential approaches for the longevity of aerospace, Airbus' place in the industry, and pertinent to my talk here today, how we defend our business from any external emerging players. Sustainability is just one pillar of what we are tackling, but it's a great one to visualize the variety of approaches to internal innovation that must exist within an organization like Airbus to ensure we maintain our leadership position and meet our objectives, our customers' needs, and our duty to the world. As I mentioned, in the pandemic, we in leadership roles at Airbus stopped and asked ourselves important, hard questions about the work that we are doing and the work that we could be doing. How did that work contribute to our current business, our future growth and defensibility? And is it the work that will set us up for success long term? In this period, I heard echoes from my time in the INSEAD Advanced Management Program, where I had the pleasure of working on a case study called the Strategic Encounter, because perhaps some of you know it. The aim of the case was for us to come up with ideas of what could disrupt our own businesses. And by seeing potential external threats from inside of our organization, it was possible to learn to better anticipate and prepare for disruption. The takeaway being that only through anticipation can one have a reasonable expectation of protecting their position. I could have never anticipated how applicable this particular lesson would be, both in light of the pandemic, but also in the role I hold at Airbus today. For background, I've been at Airbus for 20 years now, much of that time spent as a flight test crew member, flying new planes just off production line for the first time. That work allowed me to truly understand and deeply know the products that are the bedrock of our business. And that foundation is essential to the role I've had for 3 years now, that of guiding large-scale projects at Airbus UpNext that directly inform the capabilities and requirements of Airbus' future products and services, as well as our future corporate success. No corporation, no matter its size, is immune to disruption today. Rapidly emerging technologies mean that established businesses are more susceptible than ever to fast-paced entrants. These new companies thrive in part because established large groups are often viewed as something akin to large ships. They are hard to turn quickly, as they are built to serve their existing mission. Consider Airbus UpNext as the speedboat to Airbus' large ship. Through our robust demonstrator approach, we serve as a fast-paced seeker, identifying the technologies or combination thereof that we need to stay ahead of new disruptive entrants, liaising with the new supplier landscape, and bringing together emerging talents, identifying those unique skills we'll need for the future. As an innovation leader inside of a company such as Airbus, it's part of my task to ensure we remain agile in the face of new challenges, opportunities, and customer needs that we can see coming, usually long before they enter a customer's scope. This agility in our approach to innovation is truly the primary way that we mitigate external threats from new entrants. Our 2 to 4 years demonstrator projects, arguably short-term in the broader aerospace context, serve our long-term ambitions, even when we don't exactly know the final product application when we begin to pursue them. Now, similar to how Airbus is always looking beyond the horizon as testing new ideas, I myself have similarly pushed concept to the edge through my own research. In pursuit of my PhD, for example, I truly learned that it was possible to change the world through invention. My own research focused on non-stationary fluid dynamics, and before I risk putting some of you to sleep, I will just say that one of the most validating parts of pursuing that research was when I got to see it put into use. Challenging myself to push the limits of what was possible has long been the source of my own inspiration. Yet, just as with a large company, inspiration and motivation can also come from outside forces and be more competitive in nature. It may be uncomfortable at first. It took an adjustment on my part when I took the helm of UpNext, but it's true. I like to think that people come to work at UpNext and on our projects because they know that we are a place where they can truly see their work in action in just a few years' time, which is to date largely unheard of in aerospace. As more and more people become accustomed to instant solutions in both their digital and physical lives, Airbus UpNext is in some ways as close as one can come to that in a variety of engineering, tech, and design functions. Airbus UpNext specifically enables Airbus to learn, to test, and to validate technologies for future aerospace applications. Through new ways of working and a unique project setup, our disruptive model delivers high-speed execution with the ultimate objective of re-injecting the projects, learnings, and the team members into the larger group, thereby protecting the business and our market position. Our founding principles are to push technology, in other words, to make the impossible possible. We want to demonstrate a technology's potential as a viable product. We want to support Airbus' wider transformation. And that transformation means that we pave the way towards future products and services. So let me explain how it's done. First, inside of Airbus, we are known to be small and agile, much like the startups prodding us externally to remain innovative. Just last week, we opened a new UpNext location in Spain, further growing our footprint. This footprint affords us access to diverse talents and centers of technology with specialities that have developed across the continent. Second, we focus on the human elements of our tech-enabled competitiveness. The diverse workforce I mentioned that we gain access to through our global footprint is essential to the innovative ideas that we pursue across the areas of sustainability, autonomy, connectivity, and services. I might add that this value of diversity is something that really drew me to INSEAD as well. My program alone had just over 90 people, but more than 30 nationalities were represented. At Airbus UpNext, we not only benefit from diversity and equality, but our agility is inherent in our ways of working. In the pandemic, UpNext achieved significant milestones across projects, and we did so because our teams were already used to working flexibly and collaboratively despite different locations and situations. We were able to rapidly adapt to a deeply different work climate for all of us, and in the face of tremendous uncertainty, rise and succeed. Lastly, our rapid approach to learning, testing, and validating technologies means that we can quickly deliver transformative innovations, and the team members who build them back into the wider company. This may seem contradictory in today's industry with the economics challenges we all know. Today, Airbus employs over 130,000 people worldwide. We are one of the largest 200 or so companies by talent in the world. But the truth is that even our small few hundred UpNext team runs projects that gain them the experience of bringing a new technology to a maturity at which it's ready to be considered for program integration. It's not only meaningful for our corporate culture, it's also inspirational to future generations of aerospace innovators and others amongst our massive ranks at Airbus. This inspirational quality of our innovation efforts is yet another protection that this work provides for our organization, ensuring we attract and retain talent that wants to see the material impact of their work, not just the theory of how it could play a role eventually. We've all been hearing a lot about the great resignation that the pandemic has brought. We believe that our unique pursuit of innovation is a safeguard against the dramatic impacts other organizations might be feeling. Now, that's how we did it. But what do we actually do? And how does it truly enable us to preserve and grow our role in the pursuit of safe, sustainable aerospace into the future? Airbus has a long history of pioneering new aerospace technologies. This is a great legacy to have a part in. We pursue technologies we believe will change the course of our industry and adjacent industries. We don't pursue ideas just for the fun of them, not to look cool, though we often do along the way. I'll start with two recent examples of our innovation that have achieved great milestones. First is our demonstrator project called FellowFly, which set out to prove the technical, operational, and economic viability of wake energy retrieval for commercial aircraft. Basically, we borrowed a page from the playbook of migrating geese by pairing long-haul aircraft to fly in formation. We can make a significant impact on aircraft's environmental performance with around 5% reduction in fuel burn on a transatlantic flight, for example. Just a few short weeks ago, I got to revisit my flight test routes and was on board as our FellowFly aircraft took to the skies from Toulouse to Montreal. This first successful transatlantic flight proved the end-to-end concept of operations of the project. The implication of this innovative approach on the environmental impact of our products is really meaningful. Let me take a second example, which we call Atol, our autonomous taxi takeoff and landing project, which successfully completed its mission objective and was handed off to Airbus Commercial in the midst of the global pandemic last year. For this project, we defined autonomous as independent from any ground infrastructure. So the team sought to demonstrate the ability to go from the gate to the runway, maintain alignment between the aircraft and the runway throughout takeoff, and perform a vision-based approach and landing via computer vision capabilities. With the myriad of sensors, cameras, LiDAR, radar, and robust computing systems, we were able to understand the content and the context of images, as well as send orders to the avionics systems to ensure safety and efficiency. While Airbus UpNext was the home of Atol, it was truly a cross-divisional, cross-functional, global team approach that brought us there. Airbus Engineering and Technology, Airbus Defense and Space, our A-Cube in the US, Airbus China, Onera, all participated in bringing this idea to life. As the project transitioned, its foundational technology, autonomous systems in this case, will continue to be pursued through other new projects. At times, we feel pressure from outside of our industry, and autonomy is one technology being aggressively pursued in other transportation domains. For us in aerospace, this innovation is essential as our industry's growth and progress is dependent on pilots being able to focus less on aircraft operations and more on strategic decision-making and mission management. Being able to tackle that rapidly today at Airbus sets us up to be ready and respected in this field when its time comes. These successes are just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to what new ideas we are looking at as a young organization within Airbus. Our decision-making process on what to pursue is guided by external threats, as mentioned before, larger Airbus priorities, and the creative ways our teams think of the approach, or think of approaching them. At Airbus UpNext, our motivation comes from seeking out improvements and purpose. Our projects could almost be seen as micro-revolutions into themselves. I wanted to take a few minutes today to share with you some of the amazing things we are working on. Most recently, we have been looking at accelerating and validating technologies that will improve and optimize wing aerodynamics and performance for any future aircraft. Similar to how an eagle soars, adapting the shape, span, and surface of its wing and feathers, this demonstrator allows for increased flight efficiency. This project speaks not only to just how innovative our teams is, but also to the breadth of solution that will contribute to Airbus sustainability objectives. As I mentioned earlier, this ambition requires both short and long-term thinking. And with our extra performance wing, we expect to see more than 5% fuel burn reduction through the use of novel wing designs. We will be able to test our work in controlled, secure environments, thereby further accelerating our tangible understanding of the technology and materiality impacting how quickly that technology can be deployed into an aircraft program. This puts us out in front of our competitors and new entrants. Additionally, we have worked on a project we call Telio, which aims to provide seamless smart routing in satellite constellations. Imagine that the same experience you have on your devices on the ground, you can now experience while airborne. It marks a pretty incredible advancement for our industry and the end passenger experience we provide. By keeping passengers happy and meeting their connectivity expectations, we are protected by a wall of innovation that keeps new entrants from making inroads with our customer base. Following Atol, as I mentioned above, we'll further pursue autonomy and in particular its applicability to enhancing safety through diversion solutions. We hope to show that even without crew assistance, an aircraft can safely maneuver and land through the use of machine learning, artificial intelligence, and computer vision technologies. Automatic landings in diverse weather conditions and with the unique landscapes of our world are a possibility that will help our industry maintain its extreme safety standards. If it sounds like we are busy, it's because we are. Innovation doesn't really sleep, nor do startups. But we are also focused on our core exploration areas of sustainability, autonomy, connectivity, and services. As I've outlined, one of our particular value adds is speed. As the longer Airbus takes to develop and deploy new innovations, the less we are able to compete. Again, this is true unilaterally across large companies, but some are not set up to admit and embrace this. We are a constant accelerator of innovative technologies, bringing out short-term impact to long-term needs. Our progress is not just in our successes, but also in our failures and in our sharing. At UpNext, we are tasked with keeping our eyes open, looking at new industries and leading experts around us to identify the opportunities in the yet unknown. It's perhaps interesting for you in this Innovation and Strategy Club to consider, as I know we have a diverse array of interests represented, what disciplines are not currently applied in an aerospace context, but could or should be, again, to maintain our leg up on upstarts. Non-traditional disciplines from cyber to digital will play a role in our collective futures. And it's okay to not know how just yet. At UpNext, a great deal of our team comes from outside of Airbus. Each team member marks a breath of fresh air, reinvigorating our ideas and pursuits. Perhaps an interesting context for you all is that as an industry, we are entering a period of immense pressure. Not only is air traffic expected to double in the next 15 years, and this despite of the pandemic, but this growth will come with the expectation that the industry will lead a revolution in sustainable aerospace, and that we do it now. At UpNext, we are helping to prepare our industry for this future. One that, with our current ways of operating, will demand over 600,000 pilots, which is roughly triple the amount that have been trained in the last 100 years. That type of pressure means that the entire innovation ecosystem of Airbus and across the industry is mobilizing resources and technology now to pioneer sustainable and safe solutions for our customers and passengers alike. In the midst of all this pressure is the opportunity I mentioned earlier to innovate from within to prevent disruption. And at Airbus UpNext, we ultimately set our company up for successes as aviation becomes increasingly pressured by and therefore more open to outside ideas and creative partnerships. The original lesson I learned at INSEAD holds true for me today and have only perhaps become even crisper in my view. In order to continue to strive and grow, we must seek out the discomfort of knowing we are open to error. Our permeability to outside ideas is both a threat and the solution to that threat. It's a unique foil created by the pace of the world we live in today, the pace of imagination and invention, the pace of technology and discovery, and the pace of adoption and collaboration. As I said earlier today, Airbus UpNext is an innovative speedboat, agile, advanced, and leading the way. Our approach allows us to identify the technologies that keep us far ahead of new disruptive entrants and tapping into unique new tech-related skills. We'll be able to do so long into the future. This is an extraordinary time in which to live and work. Good and bad moments of history are happening daily. Yet it's an especially extraordinary time to work in aerospace, where the changes needed and coming are both obvious and still being written. As a large organization, it's necessary to constantly pursue innovative capabilities to protect ourselves and our market position. No one in this room is here by accident. You're each an energetic leader committed to progress and our collective futures. Today, I hope I was able to impart in you all a bit of wonder about how Airbus maintains its legacy through innovation, how a unique model of the pursuit of new ideas can protect all businesses from emerging and yet unknown threats. I look forward to your questions and our conversation.